The rock is a barrier to the sea. The sea is a barrier to man. In American Samoa, geography has provided obstacles for man to overcome. A volcanic mountain ridge reaching from end to end of Tutuila, the largest and most populous island. Fingers of rock jut out from the main ridge, isolating villages. "65 miles of ocean separate the islands of American Samoa and add to the almost insurmountable problem of communication. Economic resources almost non-existent, a tropical environment which provides little incentive for producing more than family needs. Human resources, particularly in education, were providing minimal learning opportunities as the child, a product of the village school, became a teacher in the school. Rote learning the method, and a 5th grade reading ability the result. Polynesian, a language suited for delicate speech and social eloquence, but not for the use and control of technology. Language as ancient as the rock. This is where we begin.
I can see a cat. What can you see? Say, I can see a cat.
I can see a cat.
Look, I can see a man. What can you see?
I can see a man.
Yes, I can see a man. Good. This is a bottle. Say that. A bottle.
That's a bottle.
What's this?
That's a bottle.
Yes, that's a bottle. Now, Tutuila. Tutuila is an island. Tutuila, an island. Say, Tutuila's an island.
Tutuila, an island.
Yes, I can see a model of the earth. What can you see?
I can see a model of the earth.
A system of 24 consolidated elementary schools and 4 secondary schools has been constructed, designed specifically to make maximum use of television.
I can see that car.
I can see that car.
I saw that car moving on the road.
I saw that car moving on the road.
I saw that car moving on the road.
If he sees people in the car, he'll be angry.
He sees people in the car, he'll be angry. He said he wanted her to see the car when she came.
He said he wanted her to see the car when she came.
I was watching Level 5 Language Arts today, and I noticed an area of possible difficulty. Did the children understand the sentence in your class, Jack, that went something like this? He was watching the man who knew how to drive the wonderful car.
Language development is closely controlled through the levels. Complexity is increased as the child's capabilities grow. The language capability of the child determines the language of the teacher.
How many students were absent in your class today?
5.
Show me your right hand.
While the child learns, the classroom teacher learns from the television lessons.
My right hand. This is my right hand. It is my right hand.
Estelle?
From the principal.
Very much the way you handled the group activities after the telecast. Some of our other teachers are rather weak in this area of class organization. I wonder if you would talk to the teachers tomorrow in our staff meeting about how you handled organizing for group activities.
Do you want me to demonstrate it rather than talk to them?
Well, I think if you were going to demonstrate it, you'd probably need to bring in students to make it effective. Perhaps you could bring in some of the students' work to show the outcome of group work in your class.
Could you think of some possible reasons?
The teacher learns on a more formal basis at Folletti Teacher Training School, where high school graduates are prepared to teach in the schools of American Samoa.
The child had problems at home. Can you think of another possible reason, Rosa?
He hates the teacher.
This could be true. This could be true. What would be another possible reason?
Then practice teaching under the supervision of an experienced teacher.
Pass out the paper immediately after the telecast, or should I have some explanation before I pass out the paper?
I suggest right after telecasting, you go ahead and explain whatever you want to explain to the children. And then after you explain it, whatever you want to say, then pass out the worksheets. Is there any other thing?
And what about yesterday? I passed out the paper after the telecast before I explained something.
Well, you see, yesterday we had a test, and then it says pass out the worksheets right after the telecast, so you don't have to say anything because it was a test.
A gradual and controlled increase in difficulty and complexity of language is paralleled by increasing the scope of concepts or ideas.
That's water.
Yes, water.
That's good. That's water.
That's a mother.
Level 1, the home and family.
A boy. That's a girl. That's a family.
Level 2, the village.
I live in a village. Yes, you live in a village. That's an island.
Good. You're living on an island. Say, I'm living on an island.
I'm living on an island. That's
Level 4,
the continent of South America.
What's this?
That's the continent of North America.
a closely controlled progression from the simple to the complex, from the known to the unknown, both in language and concept.
And what's this?
That's the island of Samoa.
Within the same level, control is exercised to repeat concepts taught in one area, such as mathematics, in all subjects.
In minutes and hours. We use the minute hand to tell minutes. We use the shorter hand to tell hours. Minutes and hours. We can show minutes and hours on the clock.
Remember,
Language arts.
today you can read a story about a clock. Look at your reading sheet. Our story is about a special clock. It's a big clock.
In social studies.
Class, on the telecast, you saw a big clock. Is there anyone in class can tell me what the clock is for? Minutes?
It can measure time. It can tell time.
Do they know the word minutes?
Oh, yes. They had it this week both in language arts and in math.
Mathematics, language arts, social studies, science, all using the new concept, time, to reinforce the student's understanding and use of the term and idea. Close control and coordination is required by the educational system in American Samoa.
Along the rivers, and then by land to the Great Lakes area. This trail is in the northern part of the United States.
Emerson, have you seen the diagram that Kelvin made?
Curriculum decisions are cooperatively made and are based on the changing needs of the child. An overall view of the program provides continuity of language and concept.
We worked on together. Particular diagram together, but we talked about skills and content, and this was to help me clarify my own mind, the shift from skills to content or to general science concepts.
Does it show the major emphasis on skills at first?
Yes, it does.
The development of the individual lesson within the curriculum is also a cooperative effort.
Lesson 65 is the first lesson in the unit, and I think it ought to be general. I'd like to just talk about different kinds of life in the city.
Well, we have some films about life in the city, but they don't show life in Samoa. Maybe we could get our photo department to go out and shoot some things on the reef. We could use those later on then.
Well, that would certainly be
Part of the team, the television teacher, and the producer-director.
And it's really very important that this first lesson be general because before the telecast, I'm having the teacher review the characteristics of animal life. But David, it's very important that we get all of these different animals in the telecast. The whole point of it is that before the telecast,
The lesson is divided into 3 parts. Before the telecast, the introduction to the telecast by the classroom teacher.
about animal life. Remember, we were studying that in the last unit. Then we're going to relate what they already know about animals to the different animals that they'll see.
The telecast itself, the new material presented by the television teacher.
Do you think it's possible to find more films that will do? Then after the telecast, thinking about all
And after the telecast, the reinforcement of the lesson by the classroom teacher.
end projects is showing life on the reef.
Yes, part of it they didn't understand.
Also part of the team, the elementary school principal, and the classroom teachers at each school.
Watching their faces, I kind of suspected that they didn't understand that part of the sentence. Well, what we'll do then is write up a feedback to the Level 5 Language Arts teacher and let her know that part either needs to be re-explained or retaught or...
George, on lesson 65 in science, it says here, piece of craft paper about 20 feet long. Do we have some in our office?
Yes, we do have plenty of craft paper left, and I think you'll also find the chalk and the scrap paper that the lesson plans call for by my desk here on that table.
George, has the pace been too slow for the level here?
The television teacher and the producer-director visit the classrooms regularly to discuss the lesson with the principal and the classroom teacher and to observe classroom activity.
There's a hermit crab. There are some towers. There are some sea urchins. They're all animals. They're all animals. Think about these.
Planning, constantly underway, to provide approximately 200 lessons per week. publication, the publishing of lesson plans and student worksheets to support the lesson. More than 1 million sheets each month.
Is that eel an animal?
Yes. That is an
Now look
animal.
at the sausage. What's this?
That's a sausage.
That's a sausage. Are sausage animals?
Yes. Sausage are animals.
That's a sausage. Sausage are animals. Look at this one.
This is its tail. It has no...
The actual recording of the television portion of the lesson.
A hermit crab must find a shell for its soft tail. Animals change and grow. Hermit crabs change and grow. Little hermit crabs must find little shells for their soft tails.
Master control, video 3, stand by the shake, film 3.
Has shells. Look, they're different. In each shell is a little hermit crab.
Starting on the film.
Little hermit crabs look for little shells for their soft tails.
Run the film, cure the
Big hermit crabs must find big
Camera 2,
shells
track right, pick her
for
up
their
alongside
soft
the
tails.
aquarium, watch gently.
This big hermit crab is looking
Camera 1,
for
give
a
me
shell.
casing, medium shot, please.
There's one. Will that be a good shell for this hermit crab?
Think about animals we can see on the reef. Can you think of the name of one animal on the reef? Talk with your teacher now.
After the telecast, the reinforcement activities.
Boys and girls, we know there are many things and animals on the reef. Let's think, how can we show the reef and the ocean in our classroom? Tegoina?
By pictures.
Right? Right?
By mark.
Good. Vine?
We can make a mirror.
Mural. Right. Stella?
We can bring things from the reef.
Very good.
After the class, the final link in the closed loop of communication, feedback. How can we do it better? What was wrong with today's lesson? Back to the planning again, but with a little more insight, a little more knowledge, and always the major emphasis, language.
Well, we've discussed it before, and Principal...
I can see a man. What can you see?
I can see a man.
Well, I can't see. I can't see how I can teach about marine life without the word oxygen or even the concept of gas exchange.
Well, I know the word air. Why don't you use air?
Well, it isn't specific enough. You can't teach gas exchange saying air.
You really have to work with this idea. What do you think about a biological point of view? Couldn't you get off on reef life and talk about shellfish? And that would give us a chance to write.
The use of language that the child knows is a constant problem, many times requiring the teacher to find completely new ways to state a concept. But it can be done and is done. The teacher's use of language must conform to the language capability of the child.
Well, I suppose you could say you've got to have air in the water because we have breeze, don't we?
Can we use breeze?
Okay, well then we know that all living things have to breathe.
At the secondary level, the language restrictions on the teacher are more relaxed, and a variety of courses is offered.
I pull the line finder towards me. It stays there. I move the paper just a little, not very much, just a little. I type the small O.
I throw the line finder back. I push it back. Then I turn the paper and I see that I have typed 96 degrees. Let's try the first one, everyone. We'll take a look at it now together. This sentence was written following the film that you viewed about cities. And this student wrote a sentence to describe or define a city. A city is a large, important town that controls its own affairs. Now, this sentence is written exactly as the student wrote it. Teachers, I wonder if you'll ask someone in your class to find the error and to correct it for us.
That shows us that we cannot stand up on our own 2 feet. And if we are citizens, I would be very happy because then they're going to have another special program, financial, for us here in American Samoa.
Very good, John. We have 2 expressions now by 2 different students, and they do not agree with one another.
Into a new enlightenment, or into a new yearning for knowledge, into a new love for learning, is where we begin our review today. I am sure that many of you recall the period of the Renaissance. The Renaissance, which was no definite period in history, but a period in which much of new learning came into existence.
In algebra, we found that we could do the same thing using polynomials. You know, I was thinking the P could also stand for phrases. A polynomial is a special kind of phrase in the language of algebra, isn't it? And we do the same thing.
Your eye looks at the sleeve. Sometimes extra lines and full sleeves make you look heavy. Think about the clothes that you wear and how they look on you.
This is a compression valve. This piece of rubber, this could be a piece of plastic or rubber. This piece of rubber compresses against the piece of brass in here.
What are the 2 Samoan ways?
The significant difference between the elementary and secondary program is that the student begins to use language to express knowledge he has been accumulating. And thus, the classroom teacher becomes a catalyst in the reaction between student and concept.
The true Samoan custom of eating is by using hands, but nowadays they are using forks, knives, and spoons.
Good. All right. Why? Okay, Sama. Because the Europeans came here with their ideas of using forks, knives, and spoons for eating. That's why we use that kind of idea.
3 of the 4 high schools are located on the island of Tutuila. The 4th is 65 miles away on the island of Ta'u in the Manu'a group.
Write down what do you think is another reason why we are eating.
There is a different member of the teaching team at the secondary level, the instruction supervisor. His responsibility is comparable to that of the elementary principal, except that he has no administrative responsibilities. His concerns are primarily with the classroom teacher, and instruction.
An awful lot of errors in the written work that you'd asked him to do. Do you have any ideas how we might correct this or work with it?
Well, I think I would collect the papers and I would see what the mistakes they are making. And then I would correct the mistakes. And on the next day, I would return the papers.
I think this is a good idea to collect them. Would you indicate on here the correct way that they should have written the work? I mean, when you make the correction, you just won't mark the errors.
What are some of these reasons
The other members of the teaching team correspond to those at the elementary level. The classroom teacher.
We also know that
The television teacher.
are located in the Manu'a Island. Where are
And the producer director.
I'm sure you know, here on the big island of Tutuila. This is what we already know. Today, we have two.
This team closely coordinated at all levels, emphasizing language and using a controlled vocabulary, visualizing concepts and constantly modifying their day-to-day effort, is one answer to the problem of rapid improvement in education. It is our answer here in American Samoa.
Studio 1, this is VTR 1, roll and recording for us.
What's today? Say, today is Monday.
I can see a cat.
What can you see?
I can see a cat.
Look. I can see a man. What can you see?
I can see a man.
Yes, I can see a man. Good. This is a bottle. Say that. A bottle.
There's a bottle.
What's this?
There's a bottle.